Hello. Weird. Hi, how's everybody doing?
Why are you here?
Hopefully we can change that. Introduce yourself first.
Hi, my name's Andy from Little Bird Cosplay. I'm a creator that I've done professionally for a lot of time. I'm going to help you figure out what you do for your photo shoot. And answer any questions that you may have.
Hi, everybody is now coming in.
Hello.
My name is Jacob, NineTail Fennec Photography. I've been shooting professionally for a couple of years now. Mostly just with her, with a few other people here and there. And hopefully have some knowledge that somebody will find useful. So we have a couple points that we do want to touch on, and then we're going to move over to Q&A toward the end. Just kind of touch on some things that are important to remember when we're going into photo shoots. Hopefully ranging from beginner to further on from beginner knowledge. Intermediate, yeah. So, you go first? So no pressure then? No pressure? Okay. Yeah, that's true. How many people out here, cosplayer or photographer, have done photo shoots at conventions? Yeah? I guess one of the questions I get the most is how to find cosplayers to shoot with. And it's, a lot of people don't realize how simple it can be. Facebook is wonderful, Instagram is wonderful. A lot of the conventions have group pages that you can go on and just post and say, if you're a cosplayer, say, hey, I'm looking for a photographer to shoot. We like to shoot with people, most of us, I think. And so people are always on the lookout for cosplayers to shoot with. And for the photographers, go on and just say, hey, I'm going to be at the convention. Anybody want some photos? Some of the conventions don't like if you post your rates in there, so just say ask for rates. But with Instagram, it's also easy to just search hashtag San Japan, find somebody that you like their cosplay, and just message them. Most people are fine with just getting messages saying, hey, yeah, sure, I'd shoot, or no, I'm good, or just not answer. Not really the end of the world. I've had that a few times.
Also, I suggest if you're at a convention or you're on social media and you happen to like the picture of a cosplayer, you like the way it was taken, you like the edits that were done, I suggest asking them. Especially if you're at a convention and the cosplayer has a table and you can see all their prints. You can just ask them, hey, I like this picture, can you recommend a photographer? And more than likely, they're going to recommend you who took the picture, who did the edits, and that's a good way of just keeping track of cosplayers, cosplayer photographers. So, and that's how we started. I think he was offering.
I think I was offering free shoots.
Yeah.
Because I the first convention I was doing photo shoots in, I was like, hey, I want portfolio stuff. Free?
Yeah, he was actually the first photographer I ever shot with. So that helped me out because I didn't know where to look, I didn't know what to do, so I found him on a post and I was just like, hey, you know what? I have a costume that I want photographed. So sure enough, that's how we met, and that's how I started taking my pictures. Then we've done 8 photo shoots.
Yeah.
8, right? Yeah. We've shot 8 different times.
7 of those have been since San Japan last year.
Yeah.
And
have won awards.
All these shots, all these shots are ones that I've done. If you see a Magneto shot, that was actually the first shoot that we did together. And looking back at them, they weren't that great. Which is another thing to remember. There's always room for improvement, no matter how amazing you end up being. Practice makes perfect is a saying for a reason. The more you shoot, the better you end up getting. I still don't know what I'm doing most of the time, but
it's always a learning experience, definitely.
Also, just acting like you know what you're doing. what's another point there?
Preparing.
Preparing.
Like once you find a photographer that you do want to work with, I'd say like definitely do your research. If someone recommends that person to you, look up their, you can contact them and they'll show you like their line of work, and that's always good. That's how you find someone that you want to work with, especially if they have a certain style that you like or a style that's gonna, fit the costume that you have on. Then you can figure out location of studio and go from there. If you do studio, keep in mind that you're probably gonna have a set time limit that you're going to be able to work. So try to get there on time. Because if you only have an hour, it takes time to set the lights.
5-10 minutes set the lights, 5-10 minutes to tear down.
Yeah.
Get the important shots that you want first, and then just make stuff up from the rest from there on.
Try to at least get an idea of how you want to pose for what you have on. Like, if it's a really big costume, you're probably not going to be able to move a whole lot, so try to work with what you have. And for me personally, I want to see a person's face, and I want to see their outfit. So if they're kind of turned to the side profile, then it's okay, but I want to see the person's face. So I think that if you're going to take a good photo, try to have as much of your face as possible, and not to have your hair, unless that's the character blocking your face.
Knowing the character is a very important thing. A lot of posing is character specific. Pinterest is just has saved my life on almost all the shoots I've done. I just go on and look up stuff with characters. There's a lot of anime, and it might not be the best time to say that, but I don't watch a whole lot of anime. So yeah, just go on and research. Do a bit of research for the character. You don't have to marathon the entire show necessarily, but at least know something about the character.
Yeah, and always communicate with your photographer if there's something, if there's a certain pose you want to try, or with me, I still tell him we've shot for over a year, and every time we shoot, I just tell him I still don't know what I'm doing. I have no idea what's going on still. Do you have any ideas? Because I don't.
Lies. Yeah, communication is definitely important. With the first couple shoots I did, there wasn't a whole lot of communication. It was just kind of, all right, do whatever, and I'll take pictures, and then I think that's the reason why a lot of the pictures ended up not turning out great. But eyeline is definitely important. A lot of the direction I end up giving is on eyeline. So saying, just look over my right shoulder, pull your chin up just a bit, okay, perfect, and then that's the majority of the posing direction I give. I work with some amazing people.
Especially if you're just starting out and you want to, if you're starting out, what's the kind of really good photographer to say to give you direction? Because, I don't know, I took some shots with a photographer that wasn't him, and I just felt really, really awkward. I was so used to shooting with him. I was just what do I do? And they're like, oh, can I play some music? I was I guess. I don't know what's going on. Just something. I don't know. I still get nervous. And I understand, if it's your first time shooting, you might be nervous, or you might feel awkward in front of the camera. Keep in mind, that might take time away from your shoot if you have to, calm yourself down. I understand if it's the first time you're going out there. It's just I still tense up, and keep in mind that if you're doing a shoot in the studio, that could eat up some of your time. Trying to calm down. You may not get the shots you want, or you may take a shot and you might think it's really good, and when you finally see it, you're I was nervous. You can tell.
The studio shoots are a completely different beast from comms. It's a bit more nerve-wracking, especially if you're renting all the equipment from whoever owns the studio.
Yeah,
awesome if you own the studio.
And at the time when people might get nervous because they know they're in a set amount of time and it's pressure. Yeah, and they're just okay, I want to get the shots I want, but I have this limited amount of time. Yeah, because we did a shoot, there was 3 of us, and we had to go back to back to back, and we only had a few minutes.
15 minutes each.
Yeah.
Yeah, that.
Really good shots, though.
Yeah, we got a few good shots. Speaking on nerves, a lot of, not so much with cosplay photography, but a lot of fashion photography, when doing hair and makeup or whatever, they have a glass of wine to loosen up. Don't do that. Terrible. It doesn't help. Trust me. I know. I mean, what? No, what? Don't drink.
Like I touched on, like nerves, like we were talking about. If you want to bring someone with you, I highly recommend bringing someone with you. Not only can they like help you calm down, also they can adjust your costume if you need to, and if it's a big costume, they can help position you. But also bring someone that's going to be serious. And take this serious, because we don't want to have someone that's going to be like messing around in the background trying to make you laugh, and you're not going to get the shots you want. Like that's just wasting your time and the photographer's time. Because he's going to have to tell you like, come on, you got to get the shot.
Stop laughing and style. Yeah, having a spotter is really good, especially if they're wearing a cape, because then they can throw the cape and jump away really quick and get some interesting stuff here and there.
Yeah, that helps to have someone. Especially like if it's really, really hot outside, you can have a person hold your water for this place. I've been out there just like full like bodysuit, and it's just like I can feel like the sweat accumulating underneath the suit, and it's like I want to like rip it off because you feel the sweat just inside, especially if it's like spandex. You just feel it. It's like coating you. It's gross. Have someone there that has something to hydrate yourself with.
Yeah, and with the on the topic of having somebody there with you to help you feel more comfortable, so the photographers don't make that necessary. Really, don't be creepy. If that makes any sense. Make sure they know that if they're not comfortable with the pose, that they can tell you and it's fine and you can move on. To the cosplayers, if you're uncomfortable with the pose, then say so. I hate whenever I deliver final photos and the person's like, I don't like it, because then I feel like I didn't do well.
It's like if you're uncomfortable with something, always let the photographer know. And if they say, hey, maybe try this pose, and you're like, oh no, maybe I can't do it, or I'm a little uncomfortable, then that's fine. If they pressure you into doing it, then you say, no, I'm done, problem solved.
And if the photographer's not cool with that, then
that's the wrong photographer.
Yeah, it's the wrong photographer. Yeah.
So there's some where I've had contact with, I dealt with one 10 years ago, and he would not leave me alone. I left the shoot, and he kept harassing me online. It's just like, nope, you tried blocking him, but he ended up making like 20 accounts. If you get those, and there's really nothing you can do. Just say no, that you're not going to shoot with them, and if they keep going, then that's the problem. Report them. You should never have to work with someone that you're uncomfortable with.
Yeah. Switching topics completely. So, on improving your photography, I think how to word it. There's a lot of really good resources online, a lot of really good YouTube channels that even I watch, a lot of good podcasts, plenty of good books. But you can watch all the videos in the world, read all the books, listen to all the podcasts, go to all the photography panels or conventions. But the best way to learn photography is still to just pick up a camera and shoot. That's kind of what I did, and it shows in my early work definitely. But I just I would set it to auto and then look at the settings that it gave me and then just play around with them and see what the settings did. I still don't know some of the technical stuff. Might not be the best thing to admit, but it works. Just know your camera, know how to shoot, study poses of characters, talk to cosplayers about what kind of poses they are comfortable with, what are good poses. Practice.
I think we need to make a difference in both of us from when we first started shooting up until now. I think I'm less awkward than what I was. Sometimes I still feel like I don't know what I'm doing, but I noticed there's a great improvement in myself. I think I'm just really less nervous to be in front of a camera, because I always feel weird in front of a camera. And sometimes I feel like I tense up and I don't know what to say and what to do. I don't know. Half the time I forget all the poses I want to do. So he's really good at Pinterest. He looks them up ahead of time because he knows that I'm gonna forget something.
And then I forget what the poses are and I just make it up.
But luckily, since I can't be in front of the camera, like on my phone, looking through that, you can like take a quick look, like okay, then it'll show me like here's an idea, something, maybe something like that.
Yeah, never replicate the shots, because that's lazy. But to just get ideas of good ways to pose. Interesting way.
And also, like when you're posing, like definitely be aware of what you have on, be aware of your body. Especially what you're like.
What you have on under the costume?
Under.
Yeah. Or don't have on under the costume in some cases.
That'll okay. Sometimes like if you don't, like I recommend seamless underwear, because then you'll see no line. Because he's had to go back and have to edit.
Photoshop out outlines of undergarments and or the lack thereof.
Yeah. And if that's going to be the case, like I said, be aware of your body, because you're going to have to position yourself in a way where nothing shows. And I know that's going to be kind of hard because you're not in front of a mirror, so it's kind of like you're just going by like what you think is okay. But I think before the shoot, definitely practice so you know how to position your body, and that's going to save you a lot of time. That's going to save him from editing out like things that don't want to be seen.
And if you do have to do that, never go to the cosplayers like, hey, guess what I have to edit out. That's a weird conversation.
Please don't.
All kinds of awkward. And with the practicing poses, have a friend take some pictures with a cell phone, just so you can see how the pose looks on screen. And it helps with adjusting as well as seeing position of things and such. Trying to keep it hands-on.
Well, like, you're about to be photographed, so more than likely you're going to wear a lot more makeup than you normally do. And it's because you have to wear a lot, because with all the light, and then on top of that, the flash, you're gonna look really washed out.
Yeah.
So I always recommend wearing a lot more than you normally wear, because it's gonna just wash you out when the flash goes off, or you're gonna be with a lot of light. Because there are times where I've taken a picture and I thought it was really nice, and my mom looked at it and she's like, "You should have worn more makeup because it just washed you out." And she's like, you lose like the contour of your face. And then I learned from that, because I was like, okay, then I have to put on like twice, 3 times as much makeup than normal, just so it shows up on camera.
And there are ways to compensate for that on the computer. At a certain point, it gets so washed out that you're just going to be a ghost in the photo no matter what. But so learning the software is also important. The gear doesn't necessarily matter, I guess. It's not the most important thing. It is important to have good gear, but knowing how to use the gear is more important than the itself, software or otherwise. How about some of the most important things to remember whenever you're going to shoot with somebody, and then you'll have Q&A and anybody has questions?
Yeah, I'd say, like I said before, most importantly, you need to shoot with someone that's gonna make you at ease, comfortable. Because I don't know, I feel like I've worked with some other photographers before, but I've shot with him the most, obviously, because I like everything that he's done, especially with my photos. Like he's taken some of my best pictures, and a lot of them they're my prints now for when I'm a guest at conventions. And people always ask me like who took them, and he's usually there at the table with me helping out. So I always like oh, here he is. He usually has his cards on hand, and I always let them know. So like we have something that's like awesome. Like he doesn't even nervous anymore. I freak myself out, but that's just me. I'm anxious all the time. So I don't know, it's just like find someone that. I know it's probably going to take a while, it's kind of an easy thing. You have to do a lot of research and photographers. And I would definitely say, ask your friends, ask other cosplayers who they recommend. If there's a picture that you like that someone says, you're like, hey, I really like your photograph, can you point me in the direction of the photographer? And definitely prepare ahead of time. Look at online references, look at the characters. If you make your costume, one thing, I always stress, please cut the straight thread, because they will show up on camera. I have learned the hard way. Like, always trim them. Because I've seen some people who have had their professional photos taken, and I look at them and you just see the stray thread, and it bugs me. And for me, it's like, why did you get that printed? You can clearly see it, and it's like, if I can see it, everyone else can. And I don't know, that just bothers me personally, because it's like, it's kind of distracting.
Yeah, and for the photographers, always look over every inch of the costume in the photo. If you see any stray hair over the eyes or whatever, or stray threads, ask the cosplayer if that's supposed to be there, and if not, just Photoshop it out or whatever.
And I know, like, I try to, like, be prepared so I can save him time from having to edit things out later. So that's I kind of feel like, think about it this way. He didn't just take my pictures, he took several other people's pictures, so he's going to have to take the time to edit each photo, like each usable photo. So he's going to take the time to edit all of those for more than one person. So I try to save him as much time as possible.
Sometimes it's like 20 photo shoots at a con, and 20 photos for each person. It adds up to a lot of sleepless nights. And if there is a photographer who you really like and follow them on Instagram or Facebook, ask them if they're going to be at a con that you're going to. I know for me personally, I very rarely would pass up the opportunity to shoot with somebody. I actually can't think of anybody that I would say no to. But
I don't think we have
I've done a lot of free shoots just because I'm like, I like the character, yes.
Yeah.
But I think the most important thing to remember for the photographers is there's really no way to say that doesn't just feel like I'm being a jerk. But it's not about you, it's about the cosplayer. I've seen some photographers that'll post their work and they're always like, look at these amazing photos I took, or look at this awesome thing I did. But the first thought of anybody looking at the photo should never be, that's an amazing photo. It should always be, that's an amazing cosplay.
Yeah, the person who's having their picture taken should not be an afterthought. The photo should be about you. They should be the center of your universe from the moment you agree to shoot with them till the moment they get the photos. And in some cases, even after that. If the photographer is supposed to work to make you happy, you should always be able to get what you want. And even if maybe there's a photo that you want to reshoot, or maybe you're just not happy, they'll offer a reshoot. Because in the end, they want you to be happy. And if the photographer's like, no, I'm not going to do a reshoot, you're going to have to pay like this amount of money. It's like, no. We most of us thrive on your happiness. Because you being happy, there's a better chance of you recommending that photographer to someone else. And that's just going to build their portfolio. I didn't even think about that. But me, it's just like, I don't want them to be unhappy. I want to be unhappy. If you're happy with what the photographer's done, definitely like recommend them, because that helps him out. Whoever it is that takes your photograph, and if you're happy with it, always try to recommend them to someone else who's looking for a photographer, as long as you're happy with. And the same with the cosplayers. If you see they're going to a con that you're not going to, and they're looking for a photographer, if there's a photographer who you think is good, just say, hey, what about this person? They're going to that con. We're a community. Act like a community, you know? That was really cheesy. But it was fitting. It made sense. I'm also going to say that. Anybody have any questions? Yes.
Okay, so it's probably one of the things that you have like situation. I know there's a lot of school thought on it, but what are your feelings on stuff like getting involved with the client at large clients at a client that you do like that? Is it everything on that?
That's a hefty topic for a first question.
That's a good question though, yeah.
For me, it depends on the shoot. I will always give JPEGs of just above Facebook quality, but under print quality for the most part. And I always have a little watermark with my logo, just a logo down in the corner. Just it's out of the way so it doesn't intrude on the photo, but it's still there. Because I have unfortunately shot with some people that, how to word it, refuse to credit the photo. People saying that's a really cool photo, who took it, and they just don't respond. And so that's kind of just for the people that don't advertise the photographers, that's just a way for the photographer to advertise. If for certain page shoots, I will always give print quality photos with the watermark, and if I know that they're going to be prints, if it's a page shoot, I always include one unwatermarked photo of their choice for print if they want to do it. For free shoots, we discuss it later. You know. But I prefer having watermark on personally. I always try to make sure it's not in the way.
I always make sure to credit whoever it was that took the picture, even if it was just some person who took it on their phone and they send it to you later. Always credit them, then you'll think it's there. Like I had one, he took a photograph of me, and it was just that it was a Bowser Jr. costume. He just wanted the picture of the bat, which he could see the shell. And he ended up finding me on Instagram. He sent me the picture, and I asked him if he was okay with me using that photo for my business card. And he said yes, and he sent me the form over for me to sign it, and I did. I sent it back, and I give him credit every time. Like I have that picture posted. Like he took this picture, so always give credit.
And always credit, like tag them on Facebook or Instagram with the cosplayers. If there's somebody that was helping out with the shoot, a lot of times I'll at least mention them in like the caption or whatever.
Thank you, that's what I know.
And I guess something that's happened to me a couple times is somebody cutting the watermark out without talking to me about it, and then printing it and making money off of it without permission, which unfortunately is illegal. It's a terrible situation when it comes up, because I just feel awkward approaching it. But don't do that, you know. Just message them and say, hey, this magazine said they wanted to print a photo. Are you cool with that? Me personally, I'd be like, yeah, here's a higher quality unwatermark. That's awesome. Just mention me. Cool. Yeah. Did that answer the question? Okay. I kind of forgot half the question halfway through.
I want to give credit, but it's not necessarily photo itself, but I want the people who it's going to have a watermark.
I mean, I know some. I was called professional. I know some. Totally. It is. I know there are some photographers who will have the watermark somewhere, like very faint, but in the middle of the photo. And the reason they do that is because that's a lot more difficult to remove from the photo. And oftentimes when they do that, it's because they've been burned multiple times by not doing that. And unfortunately, as much as I'm willing to do free shoots, it still is my career, more or less. So yeah. Anybody else?
This is for Andy. Could you please give just some basic tips on posing, like just very basic for people who maybe are starting out and just have zero clue what to do? I see so many people out there, in their costuming or...
Yeah, definitely, like I said, I want to see you, and you don't punch, and that's your character, always stand up straight, especially for girls, if you want to show off your body, definitely arch, because you want to see your face, you want to see you want to see it, especially the costume form, so that you want to see you, bring the character to life. So me, this is just a body suit. I show you body suit. I post several times right here, straight on, so people could get pictures from the front. Sometimes I'll even I'll bring the hood up so you can see it. And yeah, it highlights the face. Like that's where you want them to see it. You want to see it. But sometimes they don't want to act and shot. You just go down and down. For me, for this character. There are other characters like it's a big ball gown. I want to see the ball gown. Like that's my favorite thing. That's one of my favorite things to make. And they're like always make big gowns and I love seeing them. And it's kind of hard to just really concentrate like a wide shot of what it is.
Especially if they're really big wings.
That was my problem last year.
I really want to shoot that costume in studio, but the wings do not fit in any vehicles.
No, like my mom had to bring them separately to the convention because she has an SUV. Because like when we came in a car, my mom had to bring them later, and they didn't even fit in the hotel room. We had to like switch them in, and I had to adjust outside in the hall. Yeah. So like always be prepared for it.
Yeah, and with the posing, the photographers, you see the cosplayers in a unique way that other people don't, or should. And so your goal is to capture how you see them so everybody else can see how amazing they are. And if you do feel awkward and don't know quite how to pose, feel free to say. And there was somebody I shot with at PAX last year, here in town, that I saw photos of them from before we shot, like that people took out on the con floor, and there was always one pose, and you could tell she didn't quite know how to stand, and she didn't feel comfortable in posing. And then the first few minutes of shooting with her, I just said, just do what you feel is a good pose. That way I could get a sense of how they pose and how she moves and stuff, and it's just in poses that I felt she'd be comfortable with. And after our shoot, like there was a certain point during the shoot where you could just see that little switch in her brain flip where she's like, I am awesome and I feel amazing. And all the photos from the con floor after our shoot, there was a bunch of different poses that we used. And she switched back and forth between some of the ones that we came up with just on the spot while we were shooting, because I still don't even know who the character was. But, yeah.
That was easy, because all I did was just go through all the victory poses on the video game.
That on the ground and retired.
Yeah. We just went through every victory pose that he had. And that was pretty fast.
Yeah.
It was cold. It was a pack.
We shot up on the roof.
Yeah, we were on
the hotel.
Yeah.
That was really windy. Good. Any other parts of the question?
I have like a tag question. So, like one of my problems is I don't know what to do with my hands sometimes. I'm standing up there and I'm like, okay, I already did, this, and I already did, whatever, and I'm like, now what do I do? And I see so many pictures, like 90% of pictures I see are girls with their hands on their hips, or one hand on the hip, and I'm like, what else can we do with our hands?
Yeah, and that's like really hard, especially for me, and I'm like, look at my hands, there's so much I could do. But like, I remember like I had some I had some shots taken, and I did not really do, but the photographer that I had, he kind of like, he's a street photographer, so he's just used to taking like random pictures from the street. But I know I had a kimono on, and one pose up, he was like, oh, try this, and it was just like, I had one hand in front, and it came out really nice. I was like, that was one of my favorite pictures, but the majority of the time, just like, I have to really study what to do with my hands. Yeah. Like when we did a pinup shoot, I was just like, okay, I have to make sure that they're loose, they look natural, there's nothing too severe. And my problem with my hands is I'm double jointed. I have like hypermobility in all my fingers. They bend back at awkward angles, and sometimes they look really, like if I'm trying to point, like the bone sticks out right here.
Yeah, there's been a couple photos that I look and I'm like, oh my god, what happened?
Yeah.
Did she break her finger and just not tell me?
And like my fingers actually you can pull them and they come out of the socket.
It's gross.
It's really weird. But I always have to be aware of my hands, because if I'm posing if my hand is posed too severe, you see where the bone juts out. So I always have to be careful with how I angle my hands, what position they're in, because If not, it looks really weird and it's really creepy.
Yeah.
People are freaked out. They're like, how do your fingers stand that way? I'm like, I really don't know. It just happened.
On accident.
I have a funny comment. My first time I posted Elsa,
Mm-hmm.
the very first photos I got back was because I was getting the middle finger. The way I had my hand, like, you know, how you always
Yeah.
snow, was just, it looked like I was shooting things.
Yeah, it was really angled in a certain way, especially
Practice in the mirror, oh my,
Yeah.
children everywhere, practicing.
Yeah.
Just like that.
And then like if the photographer's at a weird angle, it's totally gonna look like
Yeah.
flipping someone off.
Yeah.
I'm like, why didn't someone tell me I was giving the finger?
There was actually our first shoot together, the Magneto shoot. There was a photo that I really liked, but her hands looked like they were run over by a truck. But like the rest of the pose was perfect. But I had another photo just testing, make sure that the lighting was good, and the hands were like posed perfectly. So I ended up just cutting her hands off in the other photo and doing like a digital hand transplant.
And you never told me this. Ever.
Yeah. I rebuilt half your body in one of the photos just because I liked how the cape billowed in the wind, and now I know it's just
I was
easier
like
to
totally
put the cape
Frankenstein
on a
together.
different
That's
photo.
pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Like I spent so long, like, all right, I got the helmet from this one, it's too big just to cover up the other one, but whatever. Like half her face in that photo, okay, I got the eye from that one. And now I look at that photo, I was like, why didn't I just cut the cape off and put it on a different photo?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
but like now I know that I was Frankenstein together.
Yeah, and in context with that, it was really windy and it was blowing my hands around, so it just was here for the photo. So it wasn't just like I decided to rebuild half of it for no reason. That'd be
But
weird.
that's good to know now. Like
like just in life in general or photography? Yeah. I have no problem with it. I can't remember the name of the group. Actually, I probably wouldn't be able to say anyway, but there's a charity group here in town that does cosplay. They do a lot of birthday parties for children with disabilities. Champions. And I've shot a couple of their events for them. And I have no problem with it. I love it. Those are ones that even if they offer me money, I will always refuse just because it makes me sort of warm and bubbly, you know. And helping them by giving some good photos that they have that memory for however long they have the photos, I guess, forever, hopefully. But I can't do it. Yeah, I love it. I saw somebody back here earlier. Sorry, let's go ahead and get you, and then we'll come up.
You talked earlier about being nervous and going around for it as a cosplayer agency, but how's the best way to help your nerves as a photographer and maybe less awkward for you and the subject? Because I know there's sometimes where like you're photographing someone that's like way out of your like league, or sometimes they're really pretty and you're just like you don't know what to do with them, but you really want to take it.
There's no way around that, really. I've been lucky in the sense that everybody I've shot with, I've just been comfortable with. My nerves are acting up more right now than the very first shoot that I did. But I guess keep your mind busy with coming up with more poses, more shots. Look at your surroundings, like how is the lighting if you're not using the flash. Because in fact, pretty much every shoot I've done that's not a studio shoot, I've not used any flash. It's all been natural light, and I just get lucky with natural lighting. But looking at your surroundings, thinking about how the light is, where would the best shot be for that light, what's in the background, what's in the foreground, not stopping to think about, oh my god, I'm really nervous.
yeah, your photographer should always be professional.
Yeah.
Like they can be nervous, but they shouldn't show it.
There's been a couple times where we have like an hour slot and we're like 30 minutes in and like well, I'm not opposing ideas. You got anything?
Yeah.
Let's look around for a new location, you know, and that's my favorite thing about using natural light is we shoot all over the place. There was a shoot I did, I think it was at PAX this year, where we shot in 8 locations around the convention center in 30 minutes, which is stupid. But because of that, there was no time really for either of us to stop and be like, I'm nervous, you know. So I guess just keeping your mind busy, if that makes any sense at all.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Say it next time.
you don't have time to think about, okay, this person's in front of me, what do I do? Like, you don't really have that. You don't have time to focus on who you're shooting. It's just like, okay, we have to get the shot.
Don't be the nervous.
Yeah.
Ignore them. Or if that doesn't work, stop, close your eyes, count to 10, let yourself be nervous, and then after that just say, I'm not nervous. I think I stole that from Lost. Was that helpful at all? And, yeah.
Like on set sets, like small, like also behind the scenes pictures of shooting water or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You have a favorite that you don't do well or suggestions of different ones?
Okay. Like, wait, I'm sorry, for special effects? So,
On set sets.
oh, on set. Kate Paul's are really the only on-set effects we've done. There's one photo in here of her as Daenerys and she has the dragon on her shoulder. That's my favorite one to show off the before and after. Because we got that in one shot standing in a parking lot.
It was the Breckenridge
Yeah.
train depot, the parking lot. Yeah.
Because the location that I had planned fell through and that was a whole fiesta. But I love showing up before and after, even if there's no like effects on the photo, because I'll always spend at least an hour on every single photo, whether that's just doing color correction, which can get difficult at times, or you know, cropping to get the best shot, the best composition, changing the color. I'm colorblind, so a lot of times with my photos on camera, they end up being really dull. So I kind of go with the numbers and afterwards. So there's some pretty drastic differences with, like, especially with the bombshell raven one with her that floating around in there somewhere, because it was bright blue on bright red. And the report photos were really nice. So I like showing up before and after. So was that at all an answer to your question? Oh, I love them. I learned so much from them. Like, my favorite style of photography is powder dance photography. Have you ever heard of that? Where they'll have like a ballet dancer and they'll have flour or like holy powder from the holy festivals. And they'll like dance and throw it like a really high speed shot. So like the shutter is like really fast and it captures the action just in an instant. And it just looks stunning. And I would love to do that kind of shoot with cosplayers, and I love looking at the behind the scenes stuff of how they capture shots. It's fascinating to me. I'm usually fascinated with those fascinating things. I think we've only done 2 shoots that were location shoots that weren't somewhere around here. Down along the river, the grotto, which is like under where registration is right now, is beautiful. It does get dark there because it's covered, so it's kind of iffy with the lighting. But I love that. I love shooting along the river. Whenever you go out these doors, if you go all the way to the left and like all the way out, there's this like really tall window, and I've gotten some really good shots of Kieran Stranger's Tony Stark last year over there, and it was really dark and beautiful, so it looked cool. Favorite question for your shot? Sorry. In the news section, there's the balcony that goes over the road. I love getting like just over the shoulder shot. There's a lot of over shoulder shots in there. where you see the traffic and the people down there, and they're like just out of focus. To me, it looks kind of cool. I like that. Oh, yeah. No, not like that. But that was shot down in the grotto.
I think one of my favorite ones was in the Roadhouse pictures, on the roof. Yeah.
You have to be staying in the Hyatt Village hand in hand to get on there.
Unfortunately, yeah.
That's
So
why
like
I have it in there.
during PAX, we took those. I think those were some of my favorites. Those did really good.
Because you got like the cityscape in the background.
Yeah.
Like, you only use like a lot of stuff, like, I feel like, for example, I like to go like all out. Things where I'm doing like, like you say, people don't put it here, like make it look like I took stock photos and doing like this. How long, like, is that a good thing for you, or to do, or is that too much time?
I used to work in film doing special effects, so I developed a workflow that it's very long to do most of the time. I mean, I do a lot of editing and a lot of photoshopping on photos that nobody even noticed exists. Like, it's like a new show. So like with that one specifically, I took a bunch of screenshots from that scene in that episode and assembled like an ultra panoramic shot just so I could have the background of all the people bowing and have to choose where from. Then I sent it off to a guy in Italy to post a dragon moment. But
like, the better question would be like, what do you consider?
well,
I think it takes away from the person that's in the shot.
but I'm not gonna name any names, but there are some cosplay photographers I've seen that like they're really good photographers, but they overdo it with effects and you can't tell that they're good photographers. And on the flip side of that, there's some that aren't all that great on the photography aspect, but they're phenomenal with the effects, so you can't tell that you can't see the where they're lacking for the photography.
Yeah, like if the photo looks good on its own, without the effects, try not to add any more to take away from, because whoever it is that you're photographing should always be the focus.
But I do a lot of photoshopping because I shoot at conventions, so I've done a lot of photoshopping people out of the backgrounds or removing signs so I don't have to worry about copyright or removing entire buildings in some cases. There are some shots where I just remove them from the photo. I did one recently today, I was shooting on my Instagram. And I did one of Kieran, which Kieran's selling as a print for the concert later. For me, I'm a photographer first and then a special effects artist, as opposed to being a special effects artist with a camera. So I guess if it gets to the point where I feel like it's not photography anymore, then it's too far. But that's a great example. Now it's gone. I should have made those stay on screen longer. But there is one shot where we're actually up in the newer section of the convention center, and the cosplayer is from Mass Effect, and she's looking out the window at the water treatment plant. And I removed all that and secured the right to use the photos, a concept art photo for the third game, which was when London was being attacked by the monster, the alien creatures. And then I just like put a link there on the simple. But on effects, an important thing is if you do add effects, always make sure that they match the photo. Because no matter how high quality the camera is, there's always going to be a grain to the photo that's unique to the camera. And if you don't try to match that as best you can, then it will look off no matter how amazing it is.
When you take a picture, you have a certain kind of growl, like you don't have a new face or a smiley face, or you kind of like adjust yourself to get that better shot. Like, for that facial expression? Like, what and would you see sort of like certain feelings to make you happy or?
Okay, like I personally like to take characters that don't smile. It avoids.
I know you just like that.
Yeah, like if I have a mask on, like when I had my Roadhog mask, it just covered like this much. I was like, I gotta worry about this, just like up here. But personally, like my mind really does go blank. I'm just like, what do I have to do next? Okay, let me try like invoke the character. For me, like there's certain things that like I have a scar under the eye, so I have to position myself. I feel like I have to position my face a certain way so I don't photograph like with one eye smaller than the other. Because I got bit by a dog and I got bit like straight down, so it's still kind of pinched underneath. So I have to like position so I don't look awkward. So I have to keep track of like my eyes, my mouth.
Yeah.
So nothing comes out weird. If I could like the shot, I was like, oh, but I don't like how my face comes out. So I just, like, my mind kind of just goes blank, and I think, okay, what would my character do in this? Like, what have I seen this character do? And that kind of helps me try to get the shot that I want.
And also, like, if you're, like, looking at, like, a certain object, like, kind of a lazy eye, so it's, like, kind of wanders, like, you moving around, like, you try to like, focus on a certain thing, or?
I definitely try to focus on something. Like, just keep looking at something, like Jacob said, like, look over his shoulder. Like, I try to focus on something over his shoulder. Because sometimes that's how my eye does photograph because of that scar. It pinches, so it looks like my lip is smaller. So there's one. It is my pin-up rocket raccoon picture. My pin-up rocket raccoon picture. I'm looking over his shoulder, and I was pretty happy with how it turned out because I felt like I didn't have to like, I didn't look at my picture and be like, oh, well, I like it, but I don't like how my eyes look. No, so always try to focus on something. Like when they say look over my shoulder, look directly and just like focus on one thing. Like if there's a sign behind it, focus on the sign. It kind of helps to look like a little bit above the camera.
So like I'll be like, look here. Okay, perfect. That's your eye line, and I'll get the shot. From the photography aspect, two options that I've used is one, if they're like have like a really serious face, it's not cracking smile, you really want that smiling shot, and they have somebody with them, a spotter or to help them out. I think it was one of those Dragon Age shots, and I went and I told her boyfriend who was with us for the shoot, I'm gonna do a 3, 2, 1 for the photo. On 2, say something really, really stupid. And I'll capture just the start of that laugh. And it's one of my favorite photos that I've got of that cosplay that I shot with multiple times now. And then the other option is if okay, I've shot with you, and with your Jedi, like you had a very kind of serious face. And so I just shifted how I was shooting. Like I shifted the style of the photos to kind of work around with that. That's the name of the one. To kind of have a serious feel to the photo itself. And we are almost out of time. Another 3 minutes left. So I guess maybe one more question. Okay. I like lightsabers. Because like, back on the effects, if it's an effect that is required for the character, then definitely do it. Like a lightsaber. Like there's one or two up there with lightsabers that just look great. Ooh.
I actually have my Roadhog cosplay. I have the hook and the strap gun, and it's also like you don't know what to do with your hands, you get problems. So you have something to hold, and like I have to hold that in both hands. I have like my hook in one hand and my strap gun in the other, and it makes them like really good poses because you have like 2 things that you can work with other than just having your hands free.
Goes back to the what do you do with your hands?
Yeah.
My favorite non-weapon prop, when we were shooting the bombshell Diva, I brought a mirror along, just a little hand mirror, like an antique that used to belong to my mom. And it was literally just one of those, if we run out of ideas, we have a mirror. And so there's one shot of her kind of holding the mirror, like she's adjusting her hair. And it's one of my favorite shots that I think it's such a simple shot, but to me, it's cool.
That's like, I didn't know what to expect, but it did help because I was able to see myself. I knew what my face was doing in that picture. And that's one of my favorite pictures. It's also like, that was one of my best selling photos.
Alright, so we have 1 minute left. So yeah, we're giving away this book, which has just all photos that I took of a bunch of awesome cosplayers. All but one of them, as well as myself, have signed the book on the inside, and this exact book will never be printed again, one of a kind. Under one of the seats is a little piece of paper attached to a bar. If it's not under anybody's seat, I guess it's the person closest to that seat.
I was like, what is that?
I think that's a tag for the...
Okay!
Yeah.
And it has all the social network miscellaneous things. So yeah, thank you guys for coming out. I hope we didn't ramble.
I hope we didn't suck. That's what he's trying to say.
If, just as a closing statement, if you ever have any questions, feel free to contact me. If you see me out on the ground floor and don't look like I'm in a hurry, just help me. If you want to follow me around on a photo shoot, just message me. I'm fine with that. I assume someone will see you.
Yeah. That's kind of hard in the finals more than the costume.
Yeah. With me, it's at NineTail Photography on Facebook and Instagram, and I don't know what my Twitter is because I barely use it. I think it's just Jacob Shepherd. Yes. Yeah, I do have business cards. They don't have my Instagram on them, but they have my Facebook on them, as well as coupons for shoots on the business card.